Something that's often been promoted to me on Facebook is some kind of prestige interview with former comedian Ricky Gervais. With the pull quote, "It's only okay to mock people for the things they chose." I'm not sure if he reached this conclusion before or after he was calling people monks, but it was definitely after he spent years deriding Carl Pilkington's ostensible eccentricities and before the latest few of his stand-up specials about trans women. I'm not interested in reading or hearing more from him, just this line. That's the depth of research I do. It's annoying to see Gervais come up with this because it's a moral I've held for ages, since learning enough about playground insults to know the specifics they accused people of. I strongly expect and hope that I didn't invent this either. It's very easy logic, accessible to human minds, and if you're not with me on it, pause here until you are. Thanks for catching up. Maybe some things are fine to mock when there's just one target and they're on board with it, or in a position of power, or it highlights their hypocrisy. Though really, these aspects will bring the element considered closer to a choice. Axioms are less compelling when you throw in the asterisks, the axiom-sterisks. I think anyone who agrees with the moral in general can agree that it has contextual exceptions. It makes for a good high-concept overview. I don't know why people would be so motivated to mock others, but at least in the context of derision, it's reasonable to deride choices and not reasonable to deride circumstances. Some might say, either none of it's okay or all of it is, if they're really unintelligent by choice and think a catchy phrase makes a dichotomy true. Some of it's okay, that's how morality works. Try it sometime. I think once people are on board with this moral at which they can arrive by choice, there's interesting things to unpick within it. This has itched at my brain for 17 years or so, and now it's a video. I have some things in common with Ricky Gervais beyond this pull quote. We're both once hugely respected in the comedy world. People find us off-putting. We like other animals and not reproducing. And we're both aware that religion was made up by people. We're also both irreligious, largely via this awareness. But is it reasonable to deride someone for their religious beliefs? Is that a choice? That's where the yes and the no blurs together. A choice informed entirely by a circumstance doesn't sound much like free choice. People are deluded into religion by how they are raised or swayed. I'm talking specifically about the religions with cultural influence here, not something someone makes up for themselves from their assessment of their perspective with no harm to others. Though it'd be difficult for this to happen without being influenced by existing culture. The beliefs of an organized religion are nearly entirely a conscious choice if you read up on all of them and decide that one that's not from your cultural background is the one for you. Because the only element beyond choice is the influence that religion has gained from its growth. You sucker. Let me delineate religion from philosophy here. Philosophies don't inherently involve delusion. The next category down in choicefulness would be if you're raised with a religion. It takes a more conscious choice to reject it. Loads of people are still raised with religion despite wider access to information. Maybe some of them have the resources to escape, but it's not necessarily on them if they've not managed. If they've fully consciously chosen not to, fair game. Especially the more oppressive religious upbringings where its schooling is woven into the surrounding culture and its surrounding culture is woven into the schooling, literally being taught it as true. Especially if it's one where people are shunned from wider society for learning past the religion. Thrice especially if their very position as a human is dictated by their religion. Their ability to escape this is severely compromised by circumstances where their choice is compromised or nil. And not just religion, we do the same with assigned nationality, gender, race, and general culture. This is really interesting stuff to get into and hear perspectives on once we recognize the extent to which something's a choice. I attended feminist discussions at university and learned more from my peers than from the lectures. University didn't make me a feminist because I was already quite smart. It was in the teething days of safe space policy, the idea that participating involves agreeing to play fair and not discriminate. That's an important agreement to have in place, and there are understandable things not to discriminate about, such as sexuality, disability, and perceived race and gender. Religion was in there too, and it should be to some extent. I wasn't in any hurry to discriminate, by the way. Also in there, though, was political beliefs. And that seems to me like a clumsy inclusion, maybe just thrown in as a safety option. You could argue that literally political alignment per se isn't a thing to discriminate for, but the political beliefs that sum into that alignment are obviously fair game to criticize. It might just be about certain factions, party politics. Parties tend to be gross. There's a reason you get panic attacks at parties. In the UK, there's a quite clear-cut party overview. You vote Conservative if you're a cunt, and the others are kind of rubbish, but occasionally you have some semblance that crosses over with meaning well. It might be different where you are, but there tends to be that cunt party and then the lesser cunts. Is it reasonable to discriminate against Conservatives? Directly, yes, because of who they are and what they cause. It's not just reasonable, but imperative to disregard the ideology, at least until there's something good to be conservative about. The claimed roots of their morality don't really matter at the extent of acknowledging its impact. But what? And I don't actually know anyone like this because I'm not posh, I fucking swear. What if they were brought up conservative, like our religion? Brian Ferry's Fox Murder son claims it's his culture. I never got into Roxy music. Maybe that's why political alignment was in the safe space list. I don't remember the exact wording. In addressing such people, there's a delicate balance between respect for their predilection and zero tolerance for their harm. Within the oft naive assumption of good faith, despite them literally being dogmatized with a bad faith. It'd be cool for the conversation to reach that point, and once there we could look at the same with gender, nationality, all the cultural aspects with which we're programmed. I'll meet you there, but we've got a few dozen terrorist incidents to get past first.